This video is going to be a hard one to make. Earlier today, I played an Amplified Nation Ampliphonics endgame for the first time, and I have to say, it's blown me away. So the real question is it better than my 2-Rock Bloomfield Drive, and will I end up selling it? Well, in today's video, we're going to find out as we're doing an amp war. It's the 2-Rock Bloomfield Drive versus the Amplified Nation Ampliphonics endgame. So without further ado, let's get straight into this Squealing Pig Guitars episode. Hello guitarists, welcome back to Squealing Pig Guitars, the home of luxury drum machines here in Nottingham, England. My name is Ben Keightley and welcome back to another video. Before we get into this amp comparison, make sure to go down this video and hit subscribe. This really helps us grow our channel, which means bigger and better guitars on the channel and means better videos for you, so make sure to hit that subscribe button to not miss out on future content. Also, if you're enjoying this video so far, leave a like and comment your thoughts down below. But in today's video, I think this might just be the hardest video I've had to make. Short story is, this morning when I was walking out of my flat, I got a call from Jack, who's the owner of Squealing Pig Guitars, and he told me that someone had brought in an Amplified Nation amplifier. He asked if I knew anything about them, and to be honest, I'd never really heard of this brand. But I had seen John Mayer and other artists use these Dumble-like amplifiers, and I guess I'd always thought they were just Dumbles. But taking a closer look, it said Amplified Nation on them. So I went into the shop, and the guy who was explaining about this Amplified Nation amp said that one side was like a modded Plexi and the other side was like a Fender Blackface. And as soon as he said that, I knew the 2-Rock Bloomfield Drive was going to be in trouble, as I love the sound of a Plexi and the more raucous gain structure that it has. So I had to plug it in, so I grabbed the Les Paul off the wall and I plugged it in, and it sounded incredible. The sound just kind of filled the room, and the distortion channel was so different to the Bloomfield Drive. But I knew playing it in the shop wasn't gonna tell me the full story. I knew I needed to bring it into the studio and do an A/B comparison with my 2-Rock Bloomfield Drive. So the real question for today's episode is, which amp is better? The 2-Rock Bloomfield Drive or the Amplified Nation Ampliphonics and Gain? Well, in today's episode, we're gonna find out. So let's get started. So let's talk about the spec differences between these two amplifiers. I'm not kind of pretending to be an amplifier expert because I don't know too much about amplifiers, but I do know the tonal characteristics between different tube set. So the main difference between these two amplifiers is the tube. So the Amplified Nation actually has two power tube options. It has the 6v6s and the EL34s. Of course, the EL34s for the Plexi tone on the gain channel, and the 6v6s for the Fender Blackface. Whereas the 2-Rock Bloomfield Drive is just 6v6s across the board. Both amps have a spring reverb. The Bloomfield Drive is a higher wattage amp, so it goes 40 to 20 watts, whereas the Ampliphonics and Gain is 22 to 11 watts. They both have a 112 speaker, and other than that, they are very similar amplifiers. It's just that the Amplified Nation can do more. And that's really what's appealing me to it today. Obviously, aesthetically, they're very different. We've got a grey suede on the Amplified Nation with a kind of old school Dumble cloth, which I love the look of, by the way, and then the 2-Rock is just a classic kind of black leather exterior. So reading on their website, the clean channel is the Ampliphonics channel, and basically that's based off an original Dumble Ultraphonics that they had in the shop, whereas the gain channel is that modded Marshall Plexi tone. Whereas the 2-Rock Bloomfield Drive is very similar to kind of like a very clean Fender amp. You have a 6v6 kind of sound, but it does have that, gain stage when you go into the lead boost channel. It can dirty up very nicely, and then you even have the tone bypass, which takes away all the EQ, which gets you even more of a direct gainy tone. But as I mentioned previously, I'm no amp expert and I'm not going to pretend to be, but that is the basic specs of these two amplifiers. If you do want to look further into these two amps, then make sure to go on their websites, Amplified Nation and 2Rock, to learn a little bit more about them, and there's some really great videos out there. As I mentioned, I'm not an amplifier expert, so let me know in the comment section below if I've made any mistakes about this video. But let's go into the section of this video which I do a lot better at, which is the tone. So let's go to the tone comparison. So guys, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. We're now going to finally shoot out the Amplified Nation versus the 2Rock. As you can see at the moment, I've got the Amplified Nation locked and loaded with a condenser microphone on the grill. We're going to be trying to do this as evenly as possible. They're similar wattage amps. Obviously, the Amplified Nation is slightly lower wattage, but they're both 112, they're both similar cabinet size, so it should be quite an even demo today. We're going to be doing a couple of tones from the clean section and then going over to the dirty channel on both amplifiers. So let's hear the Amplified Nation first, and then we'll switch to the 2Rock. I'm going to be on the neck pickup of the Stratocaster. This is a 1961 reissue from the custom shop, inspired by the Mayer build, obviously with the pearl Spursel tuners. Got that 61 body, rosewood fingerboard, clay dots. It's a cool guitar indeed. I'm not running any pedals into the amp, this is just straight into the amp for today. So let's hear that clean channel. So now let's hear the gain channel on both amplifiers. I've set all the EQ at noon and the gain is on 4 on the Amplified Nation and the volume is just over 2, and that's the same for the 2Rocks. This is the bridge pickup. So time for some lead solos. I'm going to start off on the neck pickup, but I'm going to have to wear these noise cancelling headphones because it's pretty loud in the room. Finish off the episode, let's do some high gain fuzz. So guys, that is the end of this section of the video. Let's go to the outro and hear my final thoughts about these two amplifiers. So guys, it's the end of this amplifier comparison. Before I get into my final thoughts and review of both of these amplifiers, make sure to go down this video and let me know which you prefer down below. I want your honest thoughts only. I'm slightly undecided, however I do have some opinions about these two amplifiers, but I want to hear what you guys think of these. Do you think the Amplified Nation sounded better, or do you think the Two Rock sounds better? Let me know what you think, because one of these amps is going to be used in this studio and it really is a battle to see which one's best. So these opinions come from me actually listening to the takes after recording. I've edited them all, I've put my headphones on with the same pair of headphones and listened to the two takes back to back. They're the same volume, and I think this was the best way to kind of hear the differences between these two amplifiers, and it's the exact same audio that you guys are hearing through this video. Obviously in the room I had to play the take and then I had to switch over the microphone and over the wires, and I had to switch the cabling, so there was about, maybe 10 minutes between doing both takes, so it wasn't an accurate representation of how they both differed. However, after listening to the produced tones, I can firmly say that there is a massive difference between these two amplifiers. The main thing I've noticed is that Two Rock has a lot more bass end. It's a lot fuller of a sound. But a fuller and more bassier sound doesn't necessarily mean it's better. For me, I preferred the raspy gain tone of the Amplified Nation. Especially with the track, I thought it had a really cool and unique sound and it cutted better than the Two Rock. However, I do think the clean tone of the Two Rock has a little bit more bloom and a little bit more bass end, which sounded really good with the Strat, but I think with another guitar would be too bassy. But in conclusion, I think as a package, I actually do prefer the Amplified Nation and the two channels being so contrasting. I love how you have a Fender style clean tone, and then in the gain channel you have a bit more of a fizzy but kind of raw Marshall style tone, and I think that's where the Amplified Nation has kind of won this video for me, is how good the distortion channel sounds. So it kind of pains me to say, but I think I prefer the Amplified Nation, but that is from first playing experience. So maybe I'll do a video in a couple of weeks to come back to this. But when we come down to it, really, I'm only going to be able to have one of these amplifiers in the studio. One of them's going to have to stay here, and one of them's going to have to go to the shop to be sold. Let me know in the comments section below, which one should I keep? The Two Rock Bloomfield Drive or the Amplified Nation Ampliphonics and Gain? Let me know down below. But that is the end of this amplifier comparison. I've really enjoyed making this video today. I think it's a little bit different to what we normally put on the channel, and I'd love to do more amplifier demos in the future. But as always guys, thank you so much for watching this Squealing Pig Guitars video. My name is Ben Keightley, and I'll see you tomorrow for another one. But until then, keep rocking guys. I'll see you soon.